In this podcast episode, Dr. Lauren Colenso-Semple, an expert in integrative physiology and certified strength and conditioning specialist, joins Andrew Huberman to discuss evidence-based approaches to fitness, exercise, and nutrition specifically for women. Their conversation explores the scientific realities behind weight training, cardiovascular exercise, hormonal influences, nutrition timing, and supplementation. Dr. Colenso-Semple emphasizes how much of what applies to men in training also applies to women, debunks common fitness myths, and provides practical guidance for optimizing training and recovery. Dr. Colenso-Semple explains that there are no fundamental differences in how men's and women's muscle tissue responds at the cellular level to training and nutrition. Muscle protein synthesis and hypertrophy occur similarly across sexes, driven largely by sufficient stimulus and nutrition. The primary biological difference stems from testosterone surges during male puberty, which establish men's higher baseline muscle mass. However, relative gains during training are comparable between men and women. While women can achieve significant hypertrophy, this often requires enhanced androgenic support, such as anabolic steroids, which is not typical in most training populations. Variability in muscle-building potential among women is less about testosterone levels and more influenced by genetics, training consistency, and progression. The narrative that women require sex-specific training protocols is challenged, with Dr. Colenso-Semple emphasizing that women benefit from the same types of resistance training principles as men. Historically, heavy resistance training was often avoided by women due to fears of unwanted bulkiness. That stigma has diminished partly due to influences such as bodybuilding categories like bikini competitions and popular fitness modalities like CrossFit, making resistance training more accessible and socially acceptable. Despite this shift, many women still erroneously fear strength training, yet in reality, becoming excessively muscular unintentionally is rare without rigorous training and pharmacological enhancement. Resistance training is not only effective for body composition, but crucial for long-term health, including maintaining muscle mass, improving bone density, and reducing injury risk across life stages. Its importance increases with age, especially to attenuate sarcopenia and maintain independence. There is no age, too early or too late, to begin resistance training. Teenagers benefit from training through improved athletic performance and injury prevention, while older adults, even into their 70s, can gain muscle and strength effectively. The social and cultural barriers that have historically discouraged young girls from weight training are beginning to decline, but education and habit formation remain crucial for long-term adherence and success. For beginners, or those training 2 to 3 times per week, full-body workouts covering all major muscle groups provide optimal frequency and stimulus. At higher weekly frequencies, it becomes practical to split sessions by body regions, e.g. upper and lower body, to optimize recovery and allow focused intensity. Exercise variety can be incorporated by alternating movements targeting the same muscle groups to balance workload demands. Dr. Colenso-Semple recommends performing at least 2 to 3 working sets per muscle group per session, avoiding excessive volume beyond 4 sets. Load should be challenging enough that sets are performed close to muscular failure without compromising form. Progressive overload is key, achieved by increasing load or reps over time. Rest intervals are auto-regulated, but generally 2 to 3 minutes suffice, longer for maximal strength training, and strategies such as antagonist supersets can enhance workout efficiency without hindering adaptations. Muscular hypertrophy can be achieved across a broad spectrum of repetition ranges, from low reps with heavy loads to higher reps with lighter loads, as long as sets approach failure and total training volume is maintained. For strength-specific goals, low-rep, high-load training is essential, but for general muscle growth, moderate rep ranges, 6 to 12, are an effective and practical choice. Beginners are encouraged to start in moderate rep ranges to build technique proficiency and reduce injury risk. Periodization can be approached flexibly, either by varying rep ranges within a week or across several weeks. Combining different rep ranges weekly tends to provide simultaneous progression, while extended blocks in a single rep range risk losing clear markers of improvement. Optimal performance involves moving the load as fast as possible during the concentric, lifting phase under control while controlling the eccentric, lowering phase. Intentionally slowing movement tempo does not confer additional hypertrophic benefits if form is maintained. Partial reps and isometric holds can add variety, particularly as finishers, but introduce complexity in training consistency and progression. Intensity techniques such as drop sets or forced reps may be beneficial for advanced trainees as a time-efficient way to create additional fatigue and stimulus, though they are not necessary for progress. The concept of concurrent training, combining endurance and strength training, presents some theoretical interference, particularly when both modalities are performed at high volume and close temporal proximity. However, for most individuals concerned with health and fitness, this is not a significant barrier. Performing resistance training before cardio, separating sessions by several hours, or alternating days minimizes any potential interference. Cardiovascular exercise should be tailored to individual preference and lifestyle, with varying forms such as social sports, hiking, or biking often sufficient for health benefits. High-intensity interval training, including sprint protocols, offers time-efficient cardiovascular adaptations, but is not mandatory for general fitness. Walking is an accessible and beneficial, non-structured form of physical activity, especially for sedentary individuals transitioning to more movement, though step count targets like 7,000 or 10,000 steps are arbitrary and less relevant for those already active. Contrary to popular belief, training adaptations and capacity do not vary meaningfully across menstrual cycle phases. The fluctuations of estrogen, progesterone, and other hormones do not necessitate altering exercise intensity, volume, or modality. Women should prioritize consistent progressive training and adjust only in response to subjective symptoms like fatigue or discomfort rather than hormone levels. Similarly, women using combined oral contraceptives exhibit no significant differences in muscle strength or hypertrophy outcomes compared to non-users. Hormonal contraceptive use does not impede adaptation or motivation to train, although individual responses regarding symptoms or side effects may warrant short-term adjustments. Women approaching or undergoing menopause do not need to fundamentally alter their training approach despite hormonal changes. Resistance training remains essential for maintaining muscle mass, bone density, and physical function to reduce risks of falls and fractures. Muscle loss with aging is more strongly linked to inactivity than directly to hormonal declines. Neural adaptations and motor unit maintenance are likewise critical, emphasizing the importance of physical activity for nerve-to-muscle connections that influence strength and coordination. The evidence indicates that training in a fasted or fed state yields comparable fat loss and muscle gain results. Acute increases in fat oxidation during fasted exercise do not translate into meaningful long-term fat loss advantages. Nutrition timing should be guided by personal preference and tolerance, considering factors such as gastrointestinal comfort and subjective energy levels. Post-workout nutrition, particularly protein intake, does not necessitate rigid timing within a narrow anabolic window. Protein synthesis remains elevated for many hours post-exercise, allowing flexibility in meal timing. Adequate total protein intake distributed throughout the day remains paramount. While pre-workout carbohydrate ingestion may improve subjective energy, it is generally not essential for typical resistance training sessions, given adequate glycogen stores. Caffeine is widely recognized for improving alertness and performance, and many women benefit from consuming it before training. Creatine monohydrate is a safe, well-studied supplement that can support strength and power performance equivalently in women and men. The standard dose is 5 grams daily for exercising individuals. While marketed creatine gummies may contain variable amounts of creatine, powders remain a reliable source. Creatine supplementation may slightly increase creatinine blood levels, which is benign, but should be communicated to healthcare providers. Claims of cognitive enhancement in healthy individuals are preliminary and largely limited to clinical populations with deficits. Regarding recovery, acute interventions that blunt inflammation, such as ice baths or NSAIDs, can reduce muscle soreness but may hinder hypertrophic adaptations. Therefore, While recovery modalities can promote short-term relief, they should be used judiciously within a periodized training program to avoid compromising long-term progress. Hormone replacement therapy, HRT, particularly estrogen-based, is effective for managing menopausal symptoms such as hot flashes and poor sleep, but currently lacks strong evidence for preventing cognitive decline or cardiovascular disease. Testosterone therapy has validated efficacy primarily for improving low sexual desire in women. Usage beyond clinically indicated doses risks masculinizing side effects and is generally not advised for muscle growth, which resistance training can achieve safely. The complex landscape of hormonal therapies requires individualized consideration, balancing symptomatic relief against risks. Misinformation and overpromotion of hormone therapies as panaceas should be met with caution. The podcast addresses persistent myths, such as the notion that women must train completely differently from men, or that certain female-specific rep ranges, nutrient timing, or intensity are necessary. These ideas often arise from marketing rather than data. The prevalent fear that women will get bulky from lifting heavy weights is unfounded, as substantial hypertrophy requires specific training stimuli and often pharmacological assistance. Similarly, simplistic links between cortisol and fat gain or stress-related weight changes are debunked, with attention called to how behavior, nutrition, and lifestyle more significantly impact these outcomes. The importance of science communication is underscored, highlighting the need for evidence-based public discourse and caution about selective interpretation of research. Women new to resistance training often face barriers such as intimidation of gym environments, uncertainty about correct technique, and competing fitness interests like Pilates or yoga, which do not provide sufficient progressive overload to stimulate muscle growth or fully protect against age-related muscle loss. Entry points such as group fitness classes, machine-based exercises, and gradual progression help ease these barriers. Social and genetic factors also influence individual experiences and responses to training, with past athletic background conferring advantages in strength acquisition and motor competence. Recognizing genetic limitations and avoiding misleading comparisons help maintain motivation and realistic goal setting. Dr. Colenso-Semple shares her own evolving training approach, emphasizing a split routine targeting upper body push, upper body pull, and lower body movements multiple times per week, with sessions lasting 30 to 45 minutes. This approach allows flexibility, consistency, and habit formation within time constraints. She performs sets close to failure, preferring machine-based exercises for safety in maximal effort efforts. Cardiovascular exercise is predominantly recreational or incidental, such as hiking with dogs. Mobility work is considered less crucial if full-range motion and dynamic warm-ups are integrated into resistance sessions, though it can be included for general well-being. Exercises that build balance and coordination, such as unilateral Romanian deadlifts and walking lunges, provide functional benefits that support fall prevention and motor control. Targeted ab training is effective for hypertrophying core muscles when loaded progressively, but not for spot fat loss. Weighted vests worn during walking are not effective substitutes for resistance training in promoting muscle or bone health. Grip strength testing correlates with overall longevity, but should be supported by comprehensive full-body training rather than isolated measures. Dr. Colenso-Semple calls for more research focusing on variable responses to hormonal changes during menopause, body fat distribution, and receptor-level biology to better understand individual differences. Imaging techniques and biopsy remain limited and invasive but useful tools. She stresses the importance of nuanced science communication to prevent misinterpretation and misuse of study findings. Her monthly Mass Research Review newsletter provides accessible summaries of the latest fitness, nutrition, and wellness science to support evidence-based decisions.